Hey, welcome to Math. Mr. Jorgens here. We're going to be going through section 4.2 over the next 2 days. I'm going to call this one part 1. We'll have part 2 on section 4.2 tomorrow. It's all about something called point slope form, which is new to you. So make sure you pay attention so that you're ready to answer the questions. So our goal for today is to develop another general form similar to y equals mx plus b form that we can use to write the equation of a line. And we're going to develop this one from a formula you already know, which is the slope formula. And the slope formula says the slope m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or you might have heard of it as the change in y divided by the change in x. Now we're going to make a slight kind of manipulation to this formula. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to multiply both sides of this formula by x2 minus x1 to get rid of that fraction. And when I do that, on the right-hand side, x2 minus x1 over x2 minus x1 makes 1, or cancels. So I'm just left with y2 minus y1 on the right. And on the left, I have x2 minus x1 times m. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the general structure so it's more similar to how you're used to seeing it. So I'm going to put the red part on the right and the blue part on the left. And because if A is equal to B, then B would be equal to A, right? So if the red is equal to the blue, then the blue has to be equal to the red. So I can say y2 minus y1 is equal to, and then these two things multiplied together, I'm going to write it as m multiplied by x2 minus x1. Now, in all the problems you're given today, you're going to be given a slope, like say m equals 4. And you're going to be given a point, x1, y1, which might be 2, 3, right? In this case, x1 would be 2, y1 would be 3. And so we're not going to have two different points, we're only going to have one. And in all of our equations, like in y equals mx plus b, x and y are just the variables, so I always have to have the variables here. And so my second point, x2, y2, is just going to end up being the general variable. So I'm just going to put y in for y2 and x in for x2. So I have y minus y1 equals m multiplied by x minus x1. And that is our general form, point slope form. And we're going to use this form today throughout the period to write the equations of a line. Now, it's not really important that you can do this entire derivation here, but it is important for us to know where it comes from. Why this formula works is because the slope formula is true, right? So all I did is I just rearranged the slope formula, which is a formula we already know to be true, and I'm going to rewrite it as point slope form. So this guy in the green box there is point slope form. All right, here's our look at a first example for today. And this problem wants us to write the equation of a line. So whenever you're writing the equation of a line, you should be thinking it's either going to be y equals mx plus b or the new point slope form that we have today. If the slope is 1/4 and the line goes through the point -8, 3. And I should know, since it says point slope form right here, I automatically know that I'm going to be using y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And just like in y equals mx plus b, I would need an m and a b. In this case, I'm going to need an m, an x1, and a y1. Again, m is our slope. So looking at the problem here, we should be able to determine m. What would our slope be on this problem? So find the slope, and when you're ready, enter your answer. Good, so the slope would be 1/4 because it tells us right here that the slope is 1/4, right? Again, in my problem here, I have an x1 and a y1, so the point is always going to be the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So my x1 is -8, and my y1 is 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug in my values. So I have y minus y1, so y minus 3, equals m, so 1/4, times x minus x1, so x minus -8. And then I plugged it into point slope form. The only last thing I have to do is if there's a double negative, which in this case there is, because x minus negative 8 is a double negative, I have to turn it to a plus, right? We're going to say x add 8 rather than x minus negative 8 because a double negative is a positive. So I can change that to an x plus 8. So I'm left with y minus 3 equals 1/4 times x plus 8. All right, let's take a look at a second example here. It says write the equation of the line in point slope form given a slope equal to -2 and the point 3 comma -1. So again, write the equation. So I'm either going to be doing slope intercept or point slope form. Now for this section today, we should be expecting point slope form. So writing the equation in point slope form. Now point slope form is our new format today, and it says y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And it's similar to slope intercept form, just different format, right? So it's another one that we need to remember. Now, in terms of plugging things into this formula, x and y, so this part and this part, those are the variables. So I don't need to plug anything in there. But I do need a y1, I do need an m, and I do need an x1, right? Those three are numbers, right? So I should be able to figure out what's my m, what's my x1, and what's my y1. Whoops. The x I put as yellow, the y as green, and the m as red, right? Now, from the problem right here, it says the slope is -2, right? So I should automatically know that my slope is going to be -2, or my m. I'm going to be able to get my x1 and my y1 then from the point. So using that point, figure out what x1 would be. So figure out what x1 would be from the point, and then enter your answer when you're ready. Good, so it'd be the x coordinate of that point, and the x coordinate is 3, so my x1 is equal to 3. Then I also need to figure out what the y coordinate of that point is. So my y1 is the next piece I need to figure out. So enter the y1 value when you're ready. Good, so the y1 is -1. So now that I have all three of my values, I can go ahead and plug them in. So I have y minus y1, so y minus -1 equals m, so -2, multiplied by x minus +3. Again, I have one double negative here, which is right here, so y minus -1 is the same as y add 1, equal to -2 times x minus 3. So our formula in point slope form would be y plus 1 equals -2 times x minus 3. All right, one last example for you to try here. Example 3, we're going to try to put all the pieces together. We're going to write the equation of a line in point slope form that has a slope of 2 and goes through the point 1, 4. Again, my point slope form is going to be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, so I'll put that down there to help you out. We're going to need to plug in 3 values. I'm going to need to plug in my m, I'm going to need to plug in my y1 and my x1. And so I'm going to kind of list these over here to remind you those are the 3 pieces of information that you need to figure out. So what I want you to do is go ahead and figure those 3 pieces of information out, plug them in, and then enter your equation in point slope form for a line that would fit that criteria when you're ready. All right, so taking a look at our answer here, our slope is 2, so that's the first thing that tells us. So I put 2 in as my m there. And then for the point x1, y1, that's going to be x1 and y1 here as 1 and 4. So my x1 is 1 and my y1 is 4. And then I can plug those pieces in. So I plugged in my 4, my 2, and my 1 into my format for point slope form, and I get my equation y minus 4 equals 2 times x minus 1. You should be ready to start big ideas problems now for the first half of 4.2. They won't come up till next week, but hopefully you remember some of this stuff in point slope form for when they get here. I'll have part 2 up for you to try tomorrow.